Hello, this is Matthew Simonella.
Tim Yando.
Adam Potaskins.
No Bell.
We are in the CS20 10 a.m. Tuesday Thursday lecture, and this is our RPG role-playing game script. We chose to we chose to recreate the board game Life, except do it on a text input format on using MATLAB.
We will begin now. Upon entering, you are given some initial information that you're left with $50,000 to start your kind of little life. The first choice you have to make of the many included in our game is how you want to go about getting a job. So you can not go to college, you can go to 2 years of college, you can go to 4 years of college. As is explained, if you decide you want to go to a 4-year bachelor's degree of college, you're going to have to take out a loan of an additional $50,000, which will have to be repaid later. So for our example, we'll take that one. We are now left with $20,000 after using our $50,000 starting and our $50,000 loan, leaving us with $20,000, and we get to pick our major now. So seeing as this is computer science, let's go with programmer. Alright, we now have some information displaying how we want to go about conducting our personal lives in college. So this time we will be social, just to take a risk, see what happens. There's lots of running variables in this script, such as your chance of connecting with people, your chance of dying, your chance of getting a raise. A lot of that is behind the scenes, so stuff like choosing to be social instead of studious increases your connections and stuff like that, but it might affect you later on because you might have a greater chance of dying because maybe you made some questionable decisions, got alcohol poisoning, who knows, anything's possible.
Two other very important variables in this game are the bank variable and the QOL variable, which stands for quality of life. At the end of the game, you receive a final tally based on decisions you make throughout your life. It's sort of like a final score to the game, and throughout the game, you'll be featured with a lot of decisions that will either decrease your quality of life, increase your bank account, or vice versa. And so there's no one way to go about winning the game. It's more about your personal preferences in terms of whether you have a kid or not. So that's a very pricey investment, but it greatly increases your quality of life. So you'll encounter these later on. Those are two other running variables that you don't see right now, but will appear later in the game.
Alright, we were fortunate enough to get hired in our first year of job searching. If you don't get hired that first year, you'll obviously keep trying until you get hired. As you continue to apply, you'll make more connections. You'll slowly grow your chance of getting hired, which is beneficial. So we got a job at age 22, and we will now continue. We have a starting salary of almost $82,000 per year. This is a little fun added bonus. You have to take a little random test as you prepare to enter the workforce. Basically, you're just picking a shape, you're picking a color, you're picking a number, and you're picking a letter. Now, each of those questions has a quote-unquote correct answer. However, those were completely randomly generated by MATLAB, so there's no real way to know what's going to be special and what's just going to be not normal. So evidently by this message down here, what we put in was one or more of the correct answers randomly generated. So we have another option here to be scanned and compensated. So we'll say yes and see what happens. Here we have another example of something going wrong. So we chose to be scanned. We were compensated $10,000 plus an extra $10,000, so there's some extra compensation, but behind the scenes what you might not see about this that lingers and affects you later on is the fact that it actually increased your chance of dying in older age. So things like this that seem like they're over early always come back and haunt you later on. Moving on to the next kind of landmark event in the game, we get to a special lottery. There's two of these throughout the game. just to mix things up, make things interesting, give random chance. So this lottery has a odds of winning of 1 in a million, and yet the grand prize is 5 million. So that's not realistically correct, but it adds some pizzazz to our world. So anytime we have something like this where you're going to be choosing an amount to spend, we always display how much money you have, just so you can get a gauge off where you are financially. So we'll buy 25,000 tickets for $25,000 just to see what happens. Winning numbers are being chosen, and it seems we did not win. So we now have an updated value of our bank account. We're at 15,000 now. That's just the 40,000 minus the 25,000 because each ticket costs $1. We're through our first year working, so we receive our $82,000 wage, bringing our total bank balance to a new value. Now we enter a cycle where your current age is 22. We say that every time you have a certain number, and so on. So based on certain conditions such as your bank account, whether you're married or not, and stuff like that, depends on what you can do. Right now we only have 2 options, so we'll continue working. The other option is to travel for a year. That's always fun, but we need money because money is the basis of life. We'll continue working for a few years just to progress through this. Alright, we've reached one of quite a few landmark events. This one we're going to a horse track to see if we can bet on a race and win some money. So we'll bet $20,000. Select a horse. We'll pick Jiminy Cricket. Horses race. Our horse came in 6th, last place. Clearly not a good choice. We didn't win. We leave. We have lost 20,000, but we're back on the track of life. Alright, here we've reached the point where we have the option to get married. We'll do that because happiness is good. And now, because we have enough money to afford a kid and we're married, we can choose to have a kid, so let's do that. We'll continue working, make some money, load up for retirement. We got our second lottery, pretty much the same as the first, just with a slightly different odds. So we'll buy there. We didn't win. Very unfortunate. Age 30, we'll spend a year traveling just to mix things up. Alright, we had our fun. In the background there, which you can't see but comes into play later on, your quality of life increased, but you also lost some chance of getting a raise at your job because, well, your employer's not going to like it if you run away from your job for a year. But that's life. We'll continue working for a few more years. Alright, we're at another just little landmark event, so do we want to donate? Sure, of course we want to donate. Next option, how much? We'll donate $50. Alright, very much appreciated.
This is one of those instances where, even though you lost a small portion of money by donating to the charity, your quality of life did increase slightly because of the whole feel-good result that comes from donating to charity. You'll see more of these later on.
So now, jumping ahead, we jump ahead 10 years. We display how much you earn, what your bank is at. Enter to continue just kind of divides the game, so it's not a ton of information flying at you at once. Next landmark event, you notice a gray hair. Oh no. Are you worried? Of course not. You are a dashing silver fox.
However, if you do choose to say yes, you are worried, multiple options come up in terms of like beginning a midlife crisis, and it's things ranging from like buying a motorcycle, joining a local like theater, things like that, and they all will vary. Each option varies in terms of how it impacts both your bank account and your quality of life variable.
Similar to that, this one you can choose to take less hours at your job in a different position. You'll still make the same hourly rate, but it'll mean you make less per year. Again, that'll mean you make less money, but it'll improve your quality of life. You'll have more time with family, etc. So we'll keep our normal job just for this example, but that option's always there. We worked there for 5 years, make more money. Now we're 50. We're closing in on the end. You get an offer, another landmark, get an offer to travel around the world doing stuff for your company, all expense paid. Again, increase your quality of life, maybe not make as much money, might affect some later variables. That's all hidden. That's what makes the game interesting, unique, mysterious, and fun. So we'll go for showing the world. Again, your life has changed drastically. You probably saw some incredible things in that 5 years as a programmer. Who knows where you went? Continue on. Next landmark. Some coworkers want to start up their own business. Help out? Sure. So we donate them $10,000. We'll see what happens later on. You now get a very large raise. Always good. More money. You're 65, so you're closing in on your work's retirement requirement, and we'll see how long you can work for before they force you to retire. At this point, we're now hearing back from that $10,000 loan to friends. As you can see, they were successful, and you actually made $5,000 off of it. We're now going into a loop of what happens in your old age while you're still working. So this year we continued to work, and same with age 66, age 67, and yet at age 68 you're forced to retire, and you're given a pension which is based on your initial wage. Without much to do in life, we look into the stock market. Do we want to invest? Yes. We can invest up to $500,000. So if you try to invest more than that, you'll get denied. Nobody wants that, so we'll follow the rules like good people. Alright, we made a little bit of money. That's always good. Alright, we're 69, progressing through our older years. We now have running medical expenses, which vary each year. They generally increase as you get older. But it seems at the age of 69, the doctors seem to think you're nearing your end. So, next choice, next landmark, you gotta get a gravestone, gotta leave something to be remembered. So, we're gonna buy a You Were Important gravestone, because we have almost $4 million, and we can do that. So, intricacy, we'll spend $1,200 on that. Actually, we'll mix things up. We'll spend more than $2,000 on that.
All right, and you have a great gravestone, and then finally you just gotta put your name in on the plaque. So this is what everyone will remember you by. So let's say it's dedicated to this class. All right, and now it goes to a little story. Unfortunately, you're nearing your end, but life goes on. In the year 3030, something special happens. And yeah, you become a new religion.
On an alien country, 1,000 years from now.
That's right.
And it seems you did indeed die. It is unfortunate, but it happens to all of us. You are given your final age, your money, you were married and had one child. So your final score, as determined by your bank account, your quality of life running variable, which as you can see here ended at 440. That's not really scaled, it's scaled in terms of the final score to be comparable to your amount of money. And then we lost a little because of loans that we took out back when we were starting college. And that is the end of our game.
Mm-hmm.
How do I pause?
good thing.